On the Bernina 3 series, you have the ability to do a buttonhole manually or with the automatic buttonhole foot. Not all models come with the automatic buttonhole foot. So the manual one is your number 3. It can be switched out using the lever on the red button on the back of your ankle or your shank. And then you can lower the foot down onto it. In a manual buttonhole, you will need to know ahead of time how long your buttonhole is, so we can get the front and back aligned. There's multiple steps to your buttonhole, and the order in which they're sewn is critical. So it's going to sew forward, and then bar tack. Nope, not bar tack yet. The machine will do the first bead down the first side, and then when you tap the reverse to change through the parts of the buttonhole stitch, it's going to do a back stitch back to the top, a bar tack at the top, and then the second bead down. The last step will be the bar tack at the end. Having your buttonhole marked on your fabric will help you keep this straight and aligned. Your buttonhole stitch on this machine is number 10 or 0. And it will flash which part on screen is that you're actively working on. Your first few times doing this, I would do these nice and slow as you get the hang of it. So when I reach the end of my marking, I'm going to tap the reverse, letting it know that I'm ready to move to the next step. I'm going to back stitch back up to the end. When those are aligned, you tap the reverse again to tell it to switch into the bar tack. Does the bar tack and continues on forward and finishes the buttonhole stitch. You're down at the end. Tap the reverse once more to do your bar tack at the end. And there's a built-in knot there for you as well. That would be a regular buttonhole. If the tension on this is not what you would like, you're able to thread your bobbin case with the extra tension through the eye. You can thread the thread through the pigtail on the bobbin case to give it a little more tension. This will pull your top thread tighter to the back and give you a cleaner finish on your buttonhole. Let's go through and do another buttonhole. On this next buttonhole, I would like to do a corded buttonhole, which will give your buttonhole more strength and a more professional finish. Often, the buttonholes on your jeans and on wool coats are corded. On the number 3 foot, to use the cording, you'll be hooking the thread, the cording thread, over the center toe, and then guiding it back underneath the foot. Your beads in your stitch will form over this as you go. You will need to manage where those tails are landing as you get started and lower the foot. So again, we're going to find our starting point. And our buttonhole is reset because we finished the last one, so it's flashing at the beginning. So still in manual mode, we're going to do a corded buttonhole. When you get to the length that you need, tap the reverse button. It will send that stitch backwards. Tap the reverse again when you get back to the beginning. And do your bar tack at this end. And when you get back to that end line, tap the reverse again. Does a knotting stitch. You can loosen, wiggle that cord off your foot. And now you have 2 long tails on your cording and a nice thick solid buttonhole. To tighten this up and get rid of your little loop at the end, pull gently on one or both ends of that cord, and it will pull in under the end bar tack on one side. Then you can use a hand sewing needle with a big eye to tuck those threads through onto the back and tie them off on the back of your sewing. Corded buttonholes are great. If your Bernina 3 series comes with an automatic buttonhole foot, which is the 3A, you're also able to do this to do your buttonholes. And this is probably the easiest way when you're learning to make buttonholes. Your foot goes on like normal, but you'll note that there's markings along the side of the foot. You can choose how long you want your buttonhole to be. A general rule is if your button is 12 millimeters, you need a 14 millimeter buttonhole. So add about 2 millimeters past the length of your button. When you're sewing along, the bottom part of the foot is going to move, and when the little red line on the center part of the foot reaches that marked position, you can tap the reverse and set the length of your buttonhole. Once you've set the length for the first one, it will use the temporary memory in your machine to keep all your buttonholes that length for the rest of the day until the machine is turned off. So I'm going to set this up to do a 20 millimeter buttonhole. The first one will need to set the length. So when that red line and the little arrow match up at that 20 millimeter mark, I'm going to tap the reverse. And the buttonhole will finish itself from here. And we can go make another one exactly the same. If you do need to change the size of your automatic buttonhole partway through your sewing day, you can either turn off the machine or hit the clear option to reset and reprogram the auto buttonhole. You can also do a corded buttonhole with your automatic buttonhole foot. The threading on that is a little bit different. It's easiest to thread your automatic buttonhole foot when it's off the machine if you're doing a corded buttonhole. The first place you need to hook the thread, your cording thread, is over the back of the foot. Then you can guide it along underneath the foot. Down to the either side of the really pointy guide at the end. That will hold your cording tight and in place under the foot where the beads will happen over it. In the front of the foot, there's 2 little notches to help hold those threads for you. And then you're ready to put this on the machine. I'm just going to hold that upper thread as I get started so it doesn't get tangled. And we're going to start programming a new buttonhole length for this one. I'm going to go just a little bit longer this time. And when it's the length that I want, I'm going to tap the reverse. And then sew to the end of the stitch. When you're done with the quarter buttonhole, you can lift those guides off, the cords off. And now we have another quarter buttonhole using the automatic foot.